Good afternoon, and welcome to Brunch and Budget on Bonfire Radio with your host, Pamela Capellan, a certified financial planner here to help take the bite out of your budget, brunchandbudget.com. I'm your sound provider, Dialect, and here's your host, Pamela Capellan.
Thank you, Dialect, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. So, we hope you've had a wonderful Thanksgiving and that you did whatever you did the day after Thanksgiving. And in our tradition of Thanksgiving weekend podcast, because now we have one, because this is our third Thanksgiving with y'all.
Hey. Going on 3 years.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Oh, man, it's time that we ought to start a commitment.
Yeah, maybe.
Right,
I don't
3
know.
years. 3 years is when it gets real, right?
I think we like each other.
I think we should stick around. I want to leave. I want to leave some socks in your drawer.
Oh,
Just give me a little room in the drawer, in the top drawer, over
come
to the
on,
right.
y'all, give us a drawer. No, but Thanksgiving weekend is always in tradition. We talk about Black Friday, and whether or not you go Black Friday shopping or you boycott it or whatever. Last year we talked about boycotting Black Friday and if that works, why you should boycott it. The year before we talked about how Black Friday attacks poor people in particular. And this year, Black Friday boycotts got overshadowed by boycotts, period, post Donald Trump. So we're going to be talking about boycotts and if boycotts work, how boycotts can work. And if any of these boycotts make any sense that have popped up, and we'll go through the whole list.
Well, I mean, we've talked about boycotts and, the fact that boycotts do work when they work.
Yes, they work when they work.
But I think this year we're going to be talking about these ones that are going on.
Yes.
And what I think is really interesting is I love that language shifts and changes and moves and everything means what it doesn't mean. I remember when ill used to mean bad and now ill means good and then it don't mean
bad
nothing
used
at all.
to mean bad and now bad
Bad
means
still means bad. Bad has a few meanings. But I don't know if people understand what boycott means anymore. I think the meaning of it has become so metaphorical.
Oh yeah.
It's got like the literal figurative thing.
Just like I'm not
where
doing
literally
this
is
thing.
turning to figuratively.
Yes, exactly.
And it's kind of morphing like that. So since we're losing the sense of it, which is fine, language can go and things can change, but then people are thinking that it's the old meaning when it's really not as effective as if they were doing something that was actually a boycott.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to be going through the long list of boycotts that have happened recently, especially in light of the election results. And before we do that, we got a poor tax for you.
Poor tax.
Poor tax.
Poor tax.
Poor tax.
Come on, baby.
Poor tax.
This is so terrible.
I know.
Hey.
We're getting better. We're getting better. So.
What's the poor tax today? Since it's going to be talking about Black Friday.
The poor tax today is Black Friday.
It's Black Friday.
That's basically just go back and listen to our first show about Black Friday.
No, that's cheating. No, I can sum it up pretty quickly. One of the worst things about Black Friday is it's not the advertising. It's not even the open on Thanksgiving, weird breaking up family kind of craziness. It's the way that they break you down psychologically. As we've talked about many times, there are a lot of psychological factors that go into your purchasing and saving, and we have a limited amount of willpower. We have a limited amount of being able to make decisions. They call it decision fatigue. It's all on. You can go and look up all the things, and what they do is they have loss leaders. And loss leaders are products that are priced below what they need to be, sometimes even below cost, so that they get you in the door so that you not only purchase those, but purchase other items that have a higher margin. Now, the thing with the loss leaders is there's often a limited stock of those things that you want. So when you go in there looking for the video game system or looking for that chair that you wanted, it might not be there. And once you're there, after standing in line, after pushing through people, after staying out late, or at least missing out time with your family, you need to come away with a win, right?
Yeah.
You need to get something.
Well, you can't walk away empty-handed after all that.
And I know that sounds like rhetoric, and we're all like, yeah, rationally, I would never do that. But, yeah, rationally would never do that if we had all of our wits about us. But after you're worn down, you're going to be more likely to make these decisions.
It's like you do this every day. Not every day, but when you go shopping and you spend a full day shopping, or at the end of a grocery store trip, and you're like, and you see the thing in the impulse aisle, or you see this last thing at checkout, and you're like, oh, let me just get this too.
Yeah, but hey, since it's Black Friday, though, at least it's cheaper, right? Right?
Is it cheaper?
No, it's not cheaper. So this is the thing. People know that Black Friday exists. And when you go and get that dress that's $25, that dress wasn't ever going to sell for $50. They put the discount in to the price. So it looks nice when it says that big discount, but you're buying it for what you would have bought it for. That's your poor tax.
Yep. That's your poor tax. All right. So now let's talk about boycotts. And do economic boycotts work? Have they ever worked? How have they worked in the past? And what's up with all these people calling things boycotts? So I have a slew of lists for you that we're just going to start with because, oh my goodness. So first, I want to start with the Black Friday boycott. This happened last year too, and they did it again this year, and I feel like it was unfortunately overshadowed by all the other ones. This group in Chicago called for a boycott on the Magnificent Mile on Black Friday. If we can have no justice, then corporate power brokers and corporate politicians will no longer be allowed to profit from our misery and oppression. That is their official statement. And they are the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. And we spent a lot of time talking about them last year, and it looks like they're doing it again this year. And last year they effectively shut down a number of stores on the Magnificent Mile on Black Friday, which was really great to see. And it's great to see that they're back again, I believe, for the third year doing this. And they're protesting the same thing they're protesting last year, social and racial injustice. And it's great to see them out, and it's great to see them, here every year. The sad part is I feel like there wasn't as much news about these because of so many other boycotts going on in general.
And
things calling themselves boycotts, I should say.
Well, yeah, and one thing that's terrible about that is these boycotts, it's not a battle, it's a siege or a war. Actually, I don't really like the war terminology. I guess it's not a quarter, it's a 7-game series. If you're going to have a boycott, it's going to need to build momentum. And this Black Friday boycott has been building momentum over the last few years.
Yeah.
It begins with education. That's why boycotts often in the beginning seem like they don't work, because it begins with educating people about what's going on, then convincing them to get on their side, and then showing them that it's worth it for you to make that sacrifice, because that's one thing that's endemic to boycotts is sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what is the light at the end of the tunnel? What is the end game? And it's not necessarily, boycotts can have an indefinite timeline, but the indefinite timeline needs to come with, hey, so what are we actually boycotting for? Not just boycotting against. And I think that's the critical part that's often missing in boycotts.
Yes. What are we boycotting for?
Yes. So there's a couple boycotts that came out recently. So Hamilton, the musical, recently got boycotted by Trump supporters. So if you haven't heard, then I don't know what you're doing. But the Hamilton cast at the end of a Hamilton show where Mike Pence, the vice president-elect, attended, stopped at the end of the curtain call and gave him a message saying, hey, Mike Pence, congratulations on winning. This is just a gist, but congratulations on winning. And I hope that you enjoyed the play and see it as a way for you to help continue fighting for the freedom and equality for all of us. And they emphasized that, and it was recorded, and it was shared, and a bunch of Trump supporters basically said, let's boycott this play. They were disrespecting the vice president-elect, blah, blah, blah. Trump called for an apology. And the hilarious part about the Hamilton boycott, of course, is this show is sold out until 2018. So I don't know how you can boycott something that you can't even get into.
It's a hilarious joke, right? You're boycotting something that's sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even I don't have a joke.
Yeah, that's it.
I think comedians are so mad. They're like, it's already the joke.
It's the joke. There's no joke. It just is what it is. So there's another boycott that was going around, the Starbucks boycott, #TrumpCup, and this was basically Trump supporters going to Starbucks and telling the Starbucks barista that their name was Trump to see what would happen. Some people called it a boycott. The person who officially said, asked Trump supporters to do this, said, this isn't a boycott, this was a statement, it's not a protest. I hope you have a wonderful and great financial day. America loves Starbucks, and we use you an example how we want to make a great America great again and show respect for our president and our country. And so I'm like, I don't know what to believe anymore. But people were calling it a boycott, and then now people are saying this is not a boycott after they got called out for the fact that you can't boycott something by going there and patronizing it.
And to talk to you people in the least patronizing manner possible, meaning I'm not going to buy your stuff neither, it reminds me of back in the day when people didn't like a certain record or a CD and would buy a whole bunch of them and crush them with a steamroller.
Yeah.
Give me that kind of boycott.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take that every day. That's hilarious. It's the negative boycott, the reverse polarity boycott.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, what? So there's actually an actual Starbucks boycott, dumpstarbucks.com, that's been out for, I think, a couple years now. They're asking people to dump Starbucks because they support marriage equality. So there's one. Also, more recently, there's a Target boycott. Target added to its bathroom policy in April 2016. We welcome transgender team members and guests to use the restroom or fitting room facility that corresponds with their gender identity. And a conservative group called Second Vote started the hashtag Anywhere But Target. So basically, they don't want you to shop at Target because Target is not only telling you can go to whatever bathroom you identify with, but they're spending $20 million building unisex bathrooms.
Like anywhere but Target, really?
Anywhere but Target, yeah. So there's that one. And then, of course, there's this slew of anti-Trump boycotts. The hashtag Grab Your Wallets boycott is probably the biggest and most comprehensive one. They basically actually have a Google Doc list of all the companies that sell Trump, like Donald Trump or Ivanka Trump products. The list is really extensive. It includes things that affect all of us: Amazon, Bed Bath & Beyond, Bloomingdale's, Blue Fly, Bye Bye Baby, Burlington Coat Factory, DSW, Dillard's, Macy's, Nordstrom, all the big department stores that still carry Trump or still carry Ivanka Trump stuff. So that's a really big one. And
it's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff, yeah. And then we have Sean King. Sean King is, if you don't know who he is, he writes for the New York Daily News. Some people call him an activist. I'm not exactly sure how much activisting he's done, if that's a verb that we can verb. But
I mean, he's a journalist.
He's a journalist by trade, really, but he's dabbling in activism. He has two boycotts going on right now. One pre-Trump that was he's calling it an injustice boycott, and that came out at the end of September. He said we're gonna have a big boycott. It's gonna be national. We're not gonna release the details until December 5th because we don't want people to kind of get a head start or try and mess up our plans. But we're going to give you an update on November 2nd. November 2nd came and went.
Yeah, we don't have any updates.
No, there's nothing on the Facebook page since October 27th. And right after the election, he put up another website with another boycott called the Donald J. Trump Resistance. It basically seems like a less focused, more watered-down version of the Grab Your Wallets boycott.
And to be fair, he may have seen what was going on and decided to focus his energy on the Trump boycott. So it may be the one morphed into the next one.
I just wish he would, because when you Google Sean King boycott, the injustice boycott is the one that actually comes up. And so that's the other confusing thing about journalists dabbling in activism without necessarily knowing what the direction they're going in is or really addressing one or the other. So he has the second boycott going on that is specifically targeting Trump companies or CEOs who have given to Trump. It's a little random in terms of, are they retail brands? He's telling us to boycott the Chicago Cubs and New England Patriots as well, which I'm kind of like, how do you boycott one NFL team?
Well, I mean, that's the thing about a lot of these boycotts is about the education of what you're boycotting if you're boycotting. By boycotting these teams, I mean, a lot of times people think about giving up, so does that mean you're not watching them on TV?
Right, you're not buying their merch?
Because they got their TV deal, so that's not really going to do too much if you don't
Yeah.
watch them on TV. But when it comes to not buying their merch or going to their games, I mean, there's a lot of revenue sharing in a lot of these leagues, so I don't know how much of a dent you're going to be making in these. And again, like you're saying, what is the focus?
Right.
Is it now, if you're trying to boycott a game for an image thing to show large swaths of empty seats, that's something I can get behind. It makes sense. But being part of this larger thing, I mean, like you're saying, if there's no direct action in it, it's not really focused.
Yeah. And
so it's just like I'm just not going to watch the game for the team I like.
Right. It feels like a lot of these boycotts are like, let's hit them where it hurts, their wallets. And we have some, like after this song, we actually have some data that shows that hitting a company economically is usually not the strongest reason to boycott them, and it's not really an effective way to boycott them. But I do want to end with this final boycott. There is a headline saying Gabrielle Union is now boycotting Delta because
the sorority?
Delta, the airline.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And it was literally Gabrielle Union just sending out a tweet. So Delta recently had a very belligerent Trump supporter on the plane yelling things like, all you Hillary bitches, blah, 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 whatever.
What the heck?
I know. And Delta
Was it the pilot? Wait. I don't know about this story.
No, it was super random. This Trump supporter was on the plane and Delta didn't escort him off the plane.
What kind of drugs did they issue these people after?
I have no idea. Like, what? Everyone's just trying to... So, Delta hasn't done anything about it or made any statement, and Gabrielle Union just tweeted something out saying, flying Delta tomorrow. Please let me know if I need to change my flight and take my business elsewhere. And now suddenly she's boycotting Delta. And so I think you're right in that we've maybe taken that word a little too far.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, again, the thing about it being a metaphor. When you're talking about the sports thing, I was thinking about when the Michael Brown verdict and all the I Can't Breathe and all these things were going down. I was thinking about not watching the upcoming sports season because I was sad that today's athletes aren't as involved as the athletes of the past have been. And then I saw all the basketball players wearing all the things and making statements and stuff, and I was, again, proud to be looking at the sports guys. But that's not a boycott. That's a personal decision. And it's something that I was thinking about doing. I didn't tell anybody before because it wasn't relevant before, but it was something I was thinking of doing for me. And it would have been cool. They wouldn't have got my business, and, we'd have gone about our ways. And that's fine. And I understand that it's become a kind of a colloquialism to be like, I'm going to boycott so-and-so,
right.
Meaning I'm just not going to rock with that,
right.
Which is cool. Don't stop doing that, people.
Yeah.
But we can't confuse that with making a larger impact.
Right, exactly. So what we got, Dialect?
Okay, yeah, we're going to Iowa, Davenport, Iowa, for my homie Boycott with Buka and Nam, and this is the 90s Descendants, and we'll be back in a minute. Budget, Bonfire Radio.
See what my generation generating. See what my generation generating. See what my generation generating. You niggas ain't ready for this, no sir. Please, don't talk to me as if you know the part. Make an opinion, then take it back like a rental car. This that top ramen noodle for your soul. Niggas got the handout, don't even hand them a bowl. What a world that the Lord put me into. With dealers by the churches, preachers high enough to get you. Religion is the savior or religion is the killer. With no pieces of money, bring peace to my niggas. Driving with my eyes on the gas tank. Finna be pushing on E like how I'm pushing on beats. Been broke with a job since the last 2 weeks. And still beat making saying buy my beats. You can pass by me. Jeff Teague in this league of basic ass rap. Don't stunt, it is you who be rapping and blasting. You the head and co-captain of the banger dang. Dang, what a shame, y'all heard bangs. Identify all my ingredients, how I'm cooking up this wonton soup. Swag, tell me how do you suppose that I show you my life? I'm rapping about yours, homie, the future is yours, it's from the soul. See what my generation generating. See what my generation generating. See what my generation generating. You niggas ain't ready for this.
Bring sight to the blind, that's a slight peace of mind. Gotta work with what you give in paradise and some time. Parasites on my spine, paradise in the mind. Only fuel for the fire, feel the strife in these lines. That's why I never fumble, ever crumble, never mumble. Also ready for the rumble, also clever with rebuttals. Hear the hunger in my huddle. And they feel it universally, like now to eternity. Like fuck your university, I do it cause it works for me. I murder out in Mercury till other beings heard of me. They irking me with nurseries, but as a boy I battle bigotry in Babylon. So if you riding with me, go ahead and put your saddle on. Every morning niggas trying to get they salad on. So if you not with it, break fast, get your gallop on. As I amplify the voice within, putting my blues in the rhythm like I'm Boys to Men.
See what my generation generating. See what my generation generating. See what my generation generating. You niggas ain't ready for this, no sir.
Sitting on this couch of a floral design, analyzing my future motives. I know I'm deprived of what an everyday person would call living a happy life. And yet there's people in Africa with an appetite. They be privileged to have what we have any day. But it's the matter of luck where you were born anyway, right? We trying to do right with the resources we're given. Focus on what's important, not the Jordans and the women. And maybe we could be winning in this fight we forfeiting. Be the victim, not the victim. We getting convicted of crimes, getting sentenced to life inside a prison. Use your vision to see the other side of the prism. You only seeing a pixel of the bigger picture, my nigga. Time to start living your life from a wider screen. Quit trying to be what you're not. Be yourself, cause honestly, you will never survive inside of today's society, nigga.
See what my generation generating. See what my generation generating. See what my generation generating. You niggas ain't ready for this, no sir.
And we're back. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. That was 90s Descendants by Boycott, featuring Buka and Nam, produced by Jari, coming out of Davenport, Iowa. Y'all know Iowa had some dope MCs. They come from everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't boycott Iowa hip-hop, and because that ain't going to work. They're taking over. And but this is what you can boycott.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Boycott all of these companies. No. I mean, I'm kind
Boycott
of
all
torn.
podcasts, not ours.
I know.
No, then you
No.
wouldn't know anything except for be really good at your money stuff.
Yeah. You should learn lots of stuff. So don't boycott podcasts. But here's the other question, and I'm a little torn about boycotts in general, especially after you heard that long laundry list of different boycotts going on both sides. And I've been wondering something. Has boycott become a way to, like, synonymous with having you further align yourself with a certain group or an ideal or a niche of people? Are you actually changing anyone's minds? Because looking at, like, the Target and Starbucks boycotts, for instance, just kind of makes me want to shop at Target and Starbucks. And I feel like conservatives feel the same way about Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby or what is it? Lobby?
Hobby Lobby.
Okay, yeah, I don't know, but things that rhyme. So it's one of those things where I also wonder, like, for these ones that are kind of feeling random and there's no direct target, do I just now, I don't even know how to feel about them, honestly.
Did we talk about, by the way, I have to actually look this up before I say, but Hobby Lobby, I feel like we talked about this on a previous show, how they were backed by a group that introduced the idea of them taking a stance. They didn't previously have a religious stance.
Oh.
And this was a law firm that specializes in coming up to, it's a law firm, or there's a group that comes, it's a company that specializes.
Maybe like some kind of PR group.
Yeah, I think it was a PR group, not a law firm, excuse me. I have to actually check it. But that specializes in coming up to companies and giving them conservative stances for the purposes of PR.
Wow.
And Hobby Lobby didn't have a direct thing about, caring about,
one thing or
reproductive
another.
whatever.
Yeah, totally. That's so crazy.
So, again, in terms of your boycotts and making the controversial rap record that people want to steamroll the CDs of.
Maybe it's all manufactured anyway. So that's the thing, especially with these ones that feel super random. Like some angry person just decided to go on Twitter, create a hashtag, and share it with a bunch of people. And then other people were like, yeah, I'm with you. I'm behind you too. And then you just kind of get a group of people who either say, screw Starbucks, or screw Target, or yeah, Target, I'm going to shop at you instead of Walmart, and at the end of the day, what are we doing with these big companies? We're still shopping at one versus the other because one happens to align with our views. Is that the direction things are going in general?
Hey, niche down. A good marketing strategy repels more people than it attracts.
Yeah, I guess so, unless you're like a giant conglomerate like Target and you still want a bunch of people shopping your spot. I don't know. Half the country will shop there, the other half will shop somewhere else.
I don't know. Maybe things are just getting so divided amongst lines that people really think that capitalism has gone zero sum and only one group's going to have the money in the end. So you might as well pick team now.
Yo, they're all friends, y'all. At the end of the day, let's be real. So I want to go through, there was this amazing article in The Guardian that actually came out. It came out last January. It's called Do Boycotts Really Work? And they broke down the difference between a grassroots boycott versus an actual like professional boycott or professional campaign. One of the things they said is, a grassroots boycott is very much a group of consumers angry about an issue, refusing to spend money at a retailer, right? And it's one of those things where the goal is just, hey, other people who are like-minded like me, let's do this boycott, and the company suffers from lower sales. We just spend less money there, and then they suffer, and that's it. And so one of the things about this kind of boycott is, even though something like this may happen in the short term, you might see a drop in sales momentarily. The Magnificent Mile folks, they stopped people from shopping in Black Friday, so they didn't get their retail sales for that one day. All of that kind of stuff is very, very short term, right? And especially when it comes to things that just pop up out of nowhere, it like the boycotts where you're just like, don't shop at Target or don't shop at Starbucks. Having the only goal be lower sales really isn't the long-lasting effect that a lot of people are looking for. And so one of the things this article goes into is the goal of most economic boycotts should not be to attack the bottom line, but to attack the brand. And so one of the examples that they use that I thought was great, because I remember feeling this way and hearing about this, was in the 1990s, the Nike boycott that was really heavily publicized. A bunch of activist groups found out they were using child labor. And so Nike sales dropped, their bottom line went down, but really what happened was the brand had to kind of reconstruct its reputation after that, because the activist groups weren't just going after, hey, don't shop at Nike, but hey, Nike uses child labor. This is just an FYI. You can keep shopping there if you want. They weren't necessarily saying, hey, don't shop at Nike anymore because of this or because of that, but these are Nike's labor practices, and if you don't agree with them, then maybe you shouldn't shop there. And because of that, so they lost sales immediately, and there was that aspect of it, but the most impressive impact came from the fact that Nike, in the long term, was seen as a company that used child labor, and that's how they were associated for the longest time. And honestly, I still have that idea that that's what happened, that Nike still uses child labor, regardless of whether or not they still do.
Yeah, and that goes to show not only the long-term effects of it, but the way that it takes a lot of time to see the information. And it's really important that the education gets out there, because as soon as that happened, then people became more aware of other companies that use child labor.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It brought it such to light that we're readily making jokes about child labor now, because we know that it's a fact of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, that may seem like it's a bit of a callous thing that it's become a fact of life, but the more people are made aware of this, I mean, everybody can't do everything at every time. Like we were talking about decision fatigue, that goes for your ability to save the world too. Hey, everybody's saving the world. Thanks for listening to our show. You're done saving the world. Take a break. You need a nap. But we can all do but so many things. So some people, the best they can do is crack a joke about it because it's a terrible thing and we need to cope in some way.
Right.
And some of us, those who we have the energy for it, I'm not saying I'm doing it, but the people who have the energy for it, they're going to go out there and make something about it. So
yeah,
really, the most powerful thing in the boycott is to make sure that everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, and to
Disinformation is how we're kept down, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to understand the impact of what a brand's reputation really means. Nike now knows they have to be super proactive about being transparent about their supply chain and knowing who makes their products and things like that. And they've had to be very vocal about the fact that, hey, we don't do that anymore.
Think about the fast food places that got reputations for selling bad, terrible meat.
Yeah.
For having unclean facilities. A lot of people still think that and just aren't going there.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing to think about is if the boycott lasts a certain period of time. So one effect that successful boycotts also have is the longer the boycott is in the news, the less confident investors actually are with the leadership of the company.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah, and so in terms of like sustaining the boycott for as long as possible, companies want to squash it as soon as possible, and activists have the opposite aim. They're the ones who are saying, hey, no, this hasn't changed yet. Make sure you change it. And I think that's one of the things about a boycott that is effective is in terms of, hey, Nike, you are violating human rights right now, and this is directly how you're doing it, and you need to change how you're doing it, versus I don't agree with Hobby Lobby's, stance on, what was it? It was like, reproductive rights.
Yeah.
Just like the moral, it's so crazy to me to kind of link your own like morals and political ideals with a company. And I get the idea of like, hey, I don't want to shop here because I feel that way, like Dialect was saying earlier before the song, versus I'm going to get a group of people together and band together and not shop here anymore. It just doesn't feel like there's an end in sight when that happens. I don't know what the end goal is. Are you trying to get them to change their stance on reproductive rights? Is that something that is a goal for you at all? Or is it just like you don't want to shop there anymore? Like, and what about if it is a place where you're like, hey, actually, Target is the only place that I can go to in my town. What do I do now? Right? Because I don't happen to agree with what their stance is on transgendered folks.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say
it's a lot to ask of people.
Well, I hate to say that it's a luxury to be able to boycott because, I mean, I understand that it always involves some kind of sacrifice. But for those who have necessities, I mean, if you're already standing, an inch away from the line, what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, is boycotting a poor tax on some level? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can't say that it's not a poor tax because it's not a, surreptitious thing that's taking away money. But it's something that is harder to do when you're poor.
Yeah.
I see a lot of times, I'm not into the whole liberal elite thing, but I have seen a lot of people who wonder, why aren't poor people on the front lines of protests and stuff? Why don't you see them until the riotous times and all these types of things? And, they don't have time to be at the protest. They got to be at work.
Yeah.
If they're not at work that day, they're going to lose their job. There's no one gives like a 3-week lead time for a protest. It's like, we're going to have a protest tomorrow. Well, I can't go tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think that's the thing that's difficult about asking somebody to give up a thing that they actually need to do to survive and not giving them an alternative. I know that when PayPal was on the list of companies to boycott, there are a lot of small businesses who are like, I can't actually give up PayPal. You're telling me that I'm going to be a bad person by not giving up PayPal. And I feel like there's this interesting guilt associated with boycotts too of, oh man, so if I continue to use PayPal, does that mean that I'm supporting Donald Trump in some weird roundabout way? Because one of the first investors of PayPal also supported Donald Trump?
I don't know if it's incumbent on the people who start a boycott, but I think somewhere in the mix, if you really want to make a large change with your boycott, there needs to be alternative offered. It makes me think of the issue with Airbnb and diversity and how people are, I guess diversity is not the term, and no, just discrimination.
Yeah.
People not stopping at black and brown places. And there was a company, what's the name of it again?
Inclusive, I-N-N, yeah.
With 2 N's. That was nice.
Yeah.
Good syncopation there.
Yeah.
We're late, but we syncopate. Inclusive was started by a group of people who were having problems with Airbnb. And it's funny how they didn't actually say, well, forget Airbnb. Don't use Airbnb. They just said, well, Airbnb doesn't seem to look out for us. So we've created something that does what Airbnb does, that is here to specifically look out for you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And
capitalism.
Yeah, let's give people alternatives. And it's one of those things too with a boycott where one of the things that I actually really like about the #GrabYourWallet list is it's really comprehensive. It's a list that I don't know if I'm going to be able to follow, honestly. I feel like a lot of boycott lists are also like, oh yeah, let me just not shop at those places. I don't have to shop. Like, I don't have any trouble not going to Hobby Lobby or Chick-fil-A at all, but when I look at this list, I'm like, oh, Amazon, Bed Bath & Beyond. I shop at these places regularly, so they actually have a tab called Shop These Trump-Free Alternatives that give you an idea of like, okay, so you can't use this company anymore. Why don't you use this company instead?
Now, that sounds like a move.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here's some ebook reader alternatives. Here's some Amazon Fire alternatives. Here's some Trump-free wedding registry options. Like, that's awesome.
Wait, wedding registries? How many things is he in?
Oh, man. I mean, Bed Bath & Beyond is a huge one. Amazon.
Oh, okay. Their wedding
Bloomingdale's.
registries. I get it now.
Yeah. So then there are other wedding registries that aren't supported by him at all. I didn't know Etsy had a wedding registry option. Ooh, y'all getting married. That's a good one.
It's too late.
It's too late. But yeah, I would highly encourage, the hashtag is grab your wallet, and just look at that list and see, maybe you're not going to boycott everything, or maybe it's not even a boycott. Maybe we need to change the language in general. That might be what the outcome of the show is it's not necessarily a boycott. It's just you looking at this list and saying, I could give that up. And do my part to, make waves here. Because the reality is, I'm hoping, and Grab Your Wallet has already seen some success in terms of shoes.com actually saying in a Twitter exchange that they're going to remove all of the Ivanka Trump merchandise from their website, for instance. So
again, to reiterate about the personal thing to you, folks my artist friends who must have been in positions where you've been asked to play a role or to perform something that was against your values, and that if you turned it down, that someone else would be in line to take it. So it's not like you were going to make it not happen. But it's perfectly fine to say, well, that ain't me.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's an effective way to boycott. Like, if you look at something like the PayPal thing, for instance, and you're like, no way, there's no way I can do that. That is literally the crux of my business. Then don't feel bad about not being able to do it. And I think that's the important thing, too, is as we were talking about before with the Nike thing, like, people still shopped at Nike. It's not like Nike disappeared as a company because of it. And that's not necessarily the goal. But the goal is the more people have the information, regardless of whether or not they stop shopping at a place, is, okay, now I know exactly where my dollar is going. And I'm making a conscious choice to continue to do this for one way or the other. Because again, like, the willpower thing, we do run out of it. And there are some things where you just can't do everything. And I think one of the things that I want to bring back from last year's episode is, in order to stage an effective economic boycott, you need discipline, the power of widespread appeal, and economic might. And so because Trump's name is, he's put his name on pretty much everything, He has a line of clothing that is in a bunch of department stores. It feels like that this particular boycott is so widespread and so spread out that it's going to take time to see any economic impact on this front, realistically, right? And then you have people on the other side who are like, oh, thanks for the list, now I'm only going to shop at these places. So really, you're not going to see the change happen right away. And I think people have the expectation of, oh, I'm going to boycott for 3 weeks or 3 months or, a year, and then something's going to happen. And I think what's tough about these boycotts is it isn't super clear what the goal is. And they're still asking you to do something that's really hard to do. I think that especially when you ask someone to give up a sports team, or you ask someone to give up something that's their livelihood or their bloodline or something that's social for them, that's so much harder than just saying, hey, don't shop at the store. And so what do you do about that?
Right. And, another thing about, where you're trying to go with it, the making change that happened with Nike was great.
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone is trying to drive businesses into the ground. And, if you are, that's spite. And it's not coming from the right direction.
Yeah.
And it's not really going to gather the support unless you get a lot of mean people together. Okay, that might work, but don't do that. Now, folks is angry. But that's not in the spirit of what you're trying to do. That's not making change. That's just driving folks into the ground and doing more of that nonsense zero-sum capitalism.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing about understanding the impact of a boycott is capitalism is not a zero-sum game. It's not, hey, if I don't shop here, then this company is going to go down, or this company isn't going to survive, or they're going to have to listen to me if I don't shop here. And I think that shouldn't be the purpose of a boycott, because we've seen that those aren't super effective. We just talked about the fact that Nike's sales, their bottom line wasn't hurt that much. But because they started getting this reputation as someone who didn't have good supply chain or didn't respect human rights, their reputation as a company really took a toll, and Nike is still recovering from that. This Guardian article had several examples of different times when Nike kind of had to get ahead of its own reputation in
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of ways.
I remember seeing the Nike commercials that were talking about how they weren't doing the sweatshops and showing the factories and showing how positive they were, the eco-friendly shoe and the global warming minimizing the shoe, the
Oh, yeah.
anti-racism the shoe that doesn't let you bully people anymore, like it ties its laces together so you fall on your face. Nike's been great,
Yeah.
but they ain't get rid of nothing.
Yeah.
People still think about little kids making their shoes. It's rough.
And it totally reminds me of like no one's ever boycotted McDonald's, but people got more information about how McDonald's was producing its product. And then they said, ooh, maybe I don't want to eat a McDonald's anymore.
And what's the ill thing about that is that's been the cultural shift. You know, we were talking recently about how nowadays what you consider fast food is something like an Applebee's.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you may have your own opinions about the quality of it, but it's certainly cooked food by a person
Yeah.
and not some reheated
Pink
nonsense.
slime.
Yeah, it's not pink, ain't no pink slime.
There's no
in,
pink
in the
slime
chicken
in-
tenders.
It's true.
They're tender chickens.
They're tender chickens. They might be pre-frozen, but they're still tender and they're still chicken. Right?
Applebee's is not paying us for this lukewarm endorsement.
Exactly. Yeah, all right, Applebee's. You're not McDonald's, right?
Pay us for that though. That's great. I would like. We're gonna holler at Applebee's after that. See if they're down with
Yes.
lukewarm endorsements for lukewarm food.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Nice. Their food is always just a little not hot enough.
Wait,
It's
how
true.
often are you eating it? I don't even want to know.
Not that often. I just have a good memory. So yeah, I mean, I think the hardest thing that I have a hard time wrapping around with these boycotts is let me not shop here because of an ideal. Like I think it feels like the most successful boycotts or most successful just like mass dissemination of information have been here's a direct thing that a company is doing that is directly hurting other people. And the thing that I find probably the most frustrating about the Trump ones is I just have no idea what the goal is. I don't know what the point is except for I guess get Trump's name out of these stores.
Well,
Get
spite.
Trump's
Hit him
brand-
where it hurts again.
Yeah,
Spite.
yeah, and this idea of like I think the idea of just having your vote, you know, having your dollar be a vote might be something that needs to be reexamined in general.
Well, as we've been talking about, the way that your dollar is a vote is by being used.
yes.
A dollar that's sat on is a dollar that's something that rhymes with sat on, but I ain't gonna say because Pam's only likes to curse in this show.
There you go.
Draw your own conclusions.
I think we got to do a boycott song now.
Yeah, let's boycott us talking.
Let's
for a
boycott
moment.
us talking.
But only
few
for a little
minutes.
bit, because then come back and hear more of us talking.
Yes, we'll be back.
Now I'm gonna
We'll
go
have
to
drop
the
in
check.
sales.
Yes. No, don't do that.
No,
Our
no.
margins are slim. This thing is free. It costs us stuff. Anyway, we're gonna go to the Czech Republic for Inda Rap from was it Mean Coffee Records? Yes.
Right.
Wait, not Mean Coffee Records. Coffee Breath Records. Mean Coffee Records. That don't make no sense. Yes, Inda Rap with Boycott. Punch and Budget. Bonfire Radio.
Boycott, 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 boycott. Activo. Boycott, boycott, boycott. Activo. Boycott, boycott, boycott. Activo. Boycott. Complot, desarrollo con los ojos bien abiertos. Conozco los protocolos. Unidad de acción, caos en la red. Contrainformación, ley difunde. Organízate y lucha. Compara datos por si te confundes. Ciudadanos enfurecidos con el tren de alta velocidad. Con centrales nucleares a punto de reventar. Con el Corte Inglés, la Navidad. Marketing, ansiedad. Sociedad de consumo. Sociedad de bienestar. Prometidos con el sabotaje. Hacemos que el poder de la corona se rebaje. En esta corte, su majestad el rey sería un paje. Ah, sí, esto es boicot, insumisión, desobediencia, trance. Vengo con mi verbal, boicot activo. Es algo así como tirarle a Figo la cabeza de un gorrino. Es reventar cabinas de teléfonos con rocas. Es una gran pitada al himno nacional en la final de Copa. Boicot. Boycott, boycott, boycott. Activo. Boycott, boycott, boycott. Activo. Boycott, boycott, boycott. Activo. Boycott. Ay, boicota las
política y justicia que se las trae. Cae mi boicot como las piedras contra tanques. Trae tus mejores armas contra rimas ultrajantes. Ponte los guantes de boxeo. Boicota al empresario y al banquero por rastreros. Contratos basura, condiciones laborales cero. Trepas teatreros, tron, boicota estos trileros. Boicota la televisión manipulada, la especulación. Boicota toda dictadura y a toda represión. Boicota la xenofobia, homofobia e incultura. Boicota al pederasta, boicota al cura. El boicot está activo, ahora suda. Boicota la tortura, nuestra voz mare surca, no a la rima muda. Los chicos de Indarrap ponen pasión como la turca. Boicota la violencia de género, boicota al burka. Boicot, 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 activo. Boicot, 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 activo. Boicot, 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 activo. Boicot. Ajá, ok. Llegó la hora de luchar por nuestras condiciones laborales, compañeros. Ok, guantes de boxeo. Ajá, piedras contra tanques, ¿bien? Ajá, nuestra voz es la voz del pueblo. Ponerle pasión. Ajá, ok. Stop torturas. Stop represión. Indarrap 2010. Anima X, tío. Biomer sabia los mandos. ¿Y ahora qué, ¿Y ahora qué? Boicot.
And we're back. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. That was Boycott by Indarrap. That was out the Czech Republic. And we're here talking about boycotts.
Talking about boycotts. And are they still effective? Do they still work? Should you feel bad that you're not participating in one right now?
You should feel bad.
Feel bad about yourself. You should feel guilty about this. No, I mean, honestly, boycotts are something that they were really big in the 60s and really big in the 70s, and they made a statement in a lot of ways. And I feel like we spent a lot of time talking about how the word continued to get more and more diluted. Now tweeting at Delta is considered a boycott, and one person tweeting at Delta is considered a boycott, you know?
Yeah, the side eye is considered a boycott at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, I don't know about you, thing. Okay, you're boycotting them all of a sudden.
You can't boycott Ben Grimm, come on.
What?
You can't boycott the Thing. Come on, he's great. Ben Grimm, true New Yorker.
You're right.
Come on.
I won't. I give up. You win. No, but I feel like, especially if you're someone famous who calls out a specific company, all of a sudden you're boycotting them.
Well, yeah, it's, colloquialization and conflation that's going on.
Yes. Yes, so, I mean...
Well, I was just kidding about how throwing shade is boycott, but I guess it is.
Yeah, but it kind of feels like it. And I think the thing to keep in mind with boycotts is, do you understand what you personally are doing it for? And so I feel like unless there's a clear and organized action for the long-term effects of it, there's some kind of carrot or reward for you boycotting, then the last thing that you want to happen is to just become resentful or cave into the boycott and feel bad about yourself. There needs to be some kind of end in sight, even if there isn't a timeline. And I think that that's probably the most important thing is, are you getting what you want to get out of the boycott? Because this is also a very personal decision to make. And I also think that national boycotts are also really difficult to pinpoint and really difficult to see the change happen.
Well, the boycott thing, I think back to my youth in the Jewish community when folks would talk about, if there was a store in the neighborhood that treated people poorly or had poor service, then nobody would go to it. It would go out of business because it was clearly not what the neighborhood wanted or needed. And that's a thing you can do in a small community. Mm-hmm. But on a larger level, not only does the point get muddled, it's just difficult to maintain that larger group.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that if we look back to like the bus boycotts in the 60s, that affected one community, but it garnered national news. And I think the reason why it garnered national news was because they shut down a town, essentially. They were able to affect change in a small community in a big way. And I think that's what it comes down to, too, in a lot of ways, is understanding what affects your niche and what your niche cares about.
That's how strikes work, when
Yeah.
the strike is for the transit lines, they shut down the city.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that gets their attention. But it's, another thing about this is a lot more different. I'm messing all my talking up. It's a lot more difficult to do in the digital market.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think I mean, there was this one great quote from the Target boycott that I just want to point out by someone named Josh Schumer. He said, boycotts have been a very good tool to gain rights, and I think it's a little ironic now boycotting is being used to take away rights of a store being so accepting and progressive. Have we lost sight of what boycotts are really for? Are they to maintain the current status quo and you feel like your rights are being taken away because of that? Are they to make progress? Like, what is the point of it? And is boycott even the right word anymore? So I want to kind of step away from boycotting, and I mentioned it earlier, but in terms of like what are you boycotting for versus what are you boycotting against, is what are we actually for? Is there a way that we can actually proactively use our dollars versus saying, hey, I don't want to shop at this store anymore, so I'm going to go shop at that store, instead to redirect our dollars? And we've seen a lot of calls to action to, instead of giving up something, to donate to a cause that you know you believe in and you know is doing really well and you know is going to really need the funds in times like this. And so there's been a lot of suggestions for donating to certain charities like the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, Southern Poverty Law Center, a number of climate change organizations. The ACLU in particular, they've sent out a specific statement saying, Donald Trump, we are going to watch every single move you make, and we are going to take careful assessment of all of it, and if we need to take you to court, we will.
Oh, man, this whole presidency is going to be one big reality show.
Oh, geez, don't say that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say that. So that's another way to take action with your dollars, I think. And I think in terms of really boycotting and like having that effect on it, the other thing that we really want to spend some time on is, let's talk about Standing Rock.
Oh, yeah. Standing Rock. You guys know about Standing Rock. While we're celebrating Native Americans, First Nation people getting their behinds kicked for trying to be nice, we have a bunch of people standing on some ground getting sprayed with fire hoses in sub-zero weather.
Winter.
Yeah. Lots of fun for everybody.
Yeah.
So if you guys really want to make some change with your dollars, I've got a place for y'all to send to. Go to standwithstandingrock.net. You can donate there directly. And they also have an Amazon wish list that you can, I don't actually know. Is there a link for Amazon wish list? No, you just like Google their Amazon wish list,
I think you
right?
just Google their Amazon wish list. And you'll be able to just Google Standing Rock Amazon wish list, and I'm sure you'll find a link on anything, honestly.
And really,
well, I can do it right now.
Again, that's how we make change, and that's an important part of our boycotts. It's not just about what we don't buy. It's about what we buy.
Yeah, that's the other side of it, right? What do you really stand for? And I feel like, one, I want to shout out TK in the AM. Show number 609, they go into detail about where to donate, what's going on at Standing Rock, who's involved, and really the biggest impact that your dollars can make. And I think that's really what people want to be empowered with, is boycotts feel like I'm making a choice with my dollars and I'm taking a stand with my dollars. And that's one way to do it. And if you've thought about doing a boycott or you're kind of in that headspace, consider going the other way too and finding organizations that you can really get behind and charities that you can really get behind, who you know are doing the work that you don't necessarily have time to do, or you don't have the knowledge to do, or you don't have the skills to do, but you want to support the people who do and who are out there fighting. You know, I wish we were 21 and able to go out there and be with the Standing Rock protesters right now.
Well, you know, that's something that I also wanted to talk about. So we're safe and sound currently. We're in a nice warm place where we're dry. We're not with the Standing Rock people. I'm not at every march. I've been to a couple marches in my life. I've probably missed a lot more marches than I've been to. And just like with our boycotts, we have to go where we are most effective. For those of you, I remember when I was 12 years old, I lived in a town where the Klan used to march twice a year. And I was 12 or 11 or 10. I'm forgetting the years. I'm getting old. And the Million Man March was that year. And my mom said that she would send me there to go see it and be a part of it. And I decided that I wanted to stay at home and explain to my classmates why the day wasn't racist. So you got to do what you think you can be most effective with.
Wow.
And for those of you who are, you know, you're like, even giving these up is a lot. Take that first step of not doing a boycott, but allowing yourself to not be the one to be gotten by whatever product or whatever service that you feel conflicted about. And then, once you feel comfortable doing that, then find a way to take a step further and join up with some people. Maybe you do go take a march. And guess what? Marches don't save the world either. But when you go to the march, you meet like-minded people, you're able to converse and share ideas and grow. And that's the way that we change the world with our money.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. And if you want an app for a list of all of these places.
I love it. All of that. And then, you know what? Let's just get an app.
Yo, there's an app called Boycott Trump. And again, you don't necessarily have to boycott all these places. But as you become a more informed consumer, it's harder and harder to turn away and continue to say yes to these companies that continue to support things that you can't get behind. And I think that when you hit that point, it's not even necessarily you boycotting a company. You don't need to put that much gravitas or that much pressure on it. But it's you just saying, hey, I'm actually making a choice to not put my dollars there anymore. I've had enough of this company. I've had enough of them supporting things that I can't get behind. And so I'm just going to stop. And if enough people do that and think of it that way, then maybe the word boycott will become obsolete. And it's really just a matter of people really using their dollars in a way that's effective and empowering. So
in other words, dollars over here ain't nothing over there. And speaking of small towns in Pennsylvania, I'm going to leave it off with Illinois from Erie, Pennsylvania, who has one specific direct boycott song called Boycott BET. Instead, listen to him, I guess. And I guess that leaves you more time to mainline some Bonfire Radio episodes.
Yeah.
So we'll check you next week. What's your budget? Bonfire Radio. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Black exploitation television. What? You need to take 66 off the freaking channel listing. Wait, why? I turn it there. I see cars, jewelry everywhere. Black women half naked with weave in their hair. The real conscious rap, you never hear that. All you hear is R&B and rappers talking about some strap. The BET, they're working with the government to keep people ignorant and mentally enslaved as kids. Cause they don't show a damn thing. Educational, projecting negative stereotypes. The airtime is so wasteful. The game? What? That show was mad lame. And 106 in Park don't even let me start. They took the 90 news off and I wonder what for. So they can air some more bullshit. Yeah, that's all. Bobby Johnson from Freeport, he gave it up to a bunch of dogs who see dollar signs as their only resort. And don't care about black unless it involves green stacks. Or then they care about that. Showing that garbage in prime time. How? From BET inspiration to BET now. So they cut off most music vid programs, following in the footsteps of MTV and them. But who's to blame? That believe you Viacom. Bought for $3 million, it don't something seem wrong.
You want to know the 3 deadliest letters in American society? No, not HIV. Worse. B-E-T.
I don't think that they're a good representation of black people at all. I don't think they represent us well.
And their new show's debuting, and they're talking about what? Being somebody's baby daddy? Or baby mama? Whatever. That's not stereotyping. That's not what the fuck I see on black entertainment television, which is owned by white people now. Thank you very much, because the black man sold the fuck out. Couldn't sell to a black guy. Had to sell to a white guy. But then again, who wants the shit anyway? White people, because they want to capitalize on the hip-hop. Better get yourself together.
Forget it.